To shift from drinking Cokes, sweet tea, and anything that's not water. Sorry there, microphone, even milk. Drinking water is what we need. Welcome back to Uncivilized Rebirth. Here's a place where I share things that I've learned over my life from going through a multitude of traumas. And here I am, whole and put it back together. Recently, I joined this group on Facebook. It was for MS and another group for transverse myelitis. And these were two diseases that I've dealt with over the past decade. And they are just tremendously horrible. And I'm reading these things that these people are talking about, like, man, I lived that. I've gone through that. I know what it's like to deal with this. And I realized, like, there's this core fundamental thing, a thread that goes through all this, is mindset and health and what we put in our bodies and how to view the pain. And so this basically is to talk to the people with MS and other people that are going through the battle, because there's highs and there's lows. And in the lows, the people around you can look at you and you appear absolutely fine, but on the inside you are suffering horribly. And with transverse myelitis, it will just destroy you from the inside. On the outside, you look good as well. And so it's really messed up. My mustache won't stay in place. Both of them are. But externally, people see you and they think, oh, why is this person doing this? And so at first, like when you first get diagnosed, people look at it and they're like, oh, how are you doing? You know, reaching out, checking on you. But after a period of time, people forget about you. But the disease does not forget about you. It's still there. It's still literally almost tormenting you from the inside. Some people kick it in the butt. Some people don't. And I think a key to this is viewing how we change our lives and how we need to adjust our mindset. So I'm going to keep this short today. One of the big things I realized was that eating super clean and super healthy, which I guess are the same thing, is super crucial in the battle with MS and transverse myelitis. And here's why. The body's always trying to repair itself. And the body is attacking itself. And it's painful, of course, on the nerves and everything, but you have to look at it mechanically. If the body's attacking itself, why is it attacking itself? There's obviously something there it wants to get rid of. So if the body's always repairing and replacing, oh my goodness, a little glaze on the forehead. If the body's already always repairing, then if you're always feeding it what it needs to repair, then it's always got the right nutrients to repair. So in my mind, it's like, if you get everything replaced properly, the body has no reason to attack itself. And then my next big thing is, I'm sweating. I'm just going to be honest. And that's just the way it is. But I want to share this. It's mindset. Now, this is not the mindset of like, oh, I'm going to be an achiever. I'm going to climb that mountain, blah, blah, blah. No, the mindset of what is really going on and where the pain is. Because with MS, you can have like major pain in the arm or the leg or migraines or seizures. This was from my experience, like so many different things. Sometimes it felt like there was a blowtorch on me at different places, just literally like torture. And so sometimes like you get the feeling of like you're encased in concrete, or with transverse, you get the bands around the ribs, everything's tight. And your senses are telling you that this arm is jacked up or my core is jacked up. But in reality, what's going on is the signal that's received in the brain is getting warped somehow. So if you see it as like something taps here that turns into a code, an electrical signal, and it registers in the brain, something in that code along the way is getting messed up for it to read heavy. So sometimes your arm can be like, it feels like 1,000,000 pounds. And literally it feels like your arm is like 1,000,000 pounds or encased in concrete. But it's registering like that. And so we have to shift the thought process of like my arm, my arm, my arm to where it's registering. The signal is saying that it feels this way, but in reality, the skin is fine, the muscles are fine, everything works. So my thing to you is like keep working that arm or that muscle or the whatever it is that hurts or feel funny and strange. Keep working it, because when you shift the mindset of it's just the signal being received from my arm is messed up, then you can switch into this mode of like, wait a second, if the signal's getting messed up, where along the way or along the path is the signal getting messed up? And how in the heck is this signal getting turned into heavy? When, like, or let's say this, I remember when I was in the hospital at one point in time, I'd run my hand through the hair after I'd condition it, and it felt like sand. And I would go over and over and over. And my wife at the time, I'd be like, is my hair soft? And she says, yes. But I kept feeling it. It felt like sand. When the hair was smooth, it was still registering rough. So we have to change our mindset. But it's like, okay, how do we heal that? We need to be eating a lot of greens. We need to be eating and taking supplements that are going to help with our nervous system and help with the myelin coating on our nerves, and be feeding our brain the food that it needs. And I would just suggest do a little research. Get on GPT and say, what are the nutrients that make up the brain, the nervous system, and the myelin coating? And it will come up with a whole list of like, it is made of blah, 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 blah. And then you go over to Amazon and be like, I'm going to buy this supplement, this supplement, this supplement. Or go research those supplements and see what they do specifically. So then also you need to shift from drinking Cokes, sweet tea, and anything that's not water. Sorry there, microphone, even milk. Drinking water is what we need. So if you're in like the battle right now where it just super sucks, like you have to shift gears. Like it's literally like driving down the road and you're in drive and you put it in reverse. You're just going to jack your engine up. But with this system, what's going to get jacked up is your comfort level and what you're used to. So you're used to maybe eating what you want. I got to have my Coke, got to have my sweet tea. I got to eat my this, to I don't like this. I don't like that. Well, woe is your feelings. Like, woe is like, if you're pain and suffering, sometimes you have the mindset of like, this is all I can enjoy. Well, freak, if you're going to be focused on enjoying what's going into your mouth, you just might as well go ahead and paddle down the river of misery, because all the garbage that is produced these days that goes into the human body will not help MS. It'll make it worse. Most of it is going to be inflammatory for MS. So you have to find everything that's inflammatory and cut it out of your life. Because once you start controlling this, like what goes in it and how you think about what the pain or what's going on with MS, then your internal system is going to start shifting and changing, because it's going to have all of those building blocks to replace what it needs in the proper locations. And for me, I've had amazing results, because now in my mind, it's like my body has nothing to attack. And just recently, I've dived back into just going super clean as possible on my eating. And I know that's going to help and help me get improvements, because I want to lose about 20 pounds. Okay, and somebody else asked me this. They said they have transverse myelitis, and at work, somebody like yells at them and is mean to them. Well, so here's what happens when you get yelled at. Like, that can elicit these negative emotions inside of you. And sometimes your processing system or your data accessing system in the brain can be like, oh, I'm getting yelled at, I'm going to access this memory. But you don't necessarily see the memory, but what can get accessed are the emotions, the feelings, and then that presents and also identity. So let's say somebody at work yelling at you reminds you of being yelled at by your mom or dad. And then that identity presents and temporarily overlays on your current identity. And now you feel like a little kid again when they're yelling at you. So what you have to do is you have to reprogram um, the way you code your memories and the way you store them, and also you have to control what you think about when they're yelling at you. So here's how you can do that. Immediately after they yell at you, instead of going into maybe, I wish I'd said this, they shouldn't have said that, this will bring justice, I'm going to say this next time, immediately open a piece of paper in your brain and start in words, visualizing, writing out what happened. Just a few words like, this guy yelled at me. He was a turd burglar and it made me mad, and it's okay to be mad. And then imagine you're closing a book. So kind of what you're doing is you're taking that memory in real time, almost in real time, a few minutes later, you're processing it into a low format memory. But then it takes time doing that, but eventually your brain will do that automatically. And when you do that, when you store that memory in a low level data file, like with barely any data in it, if it ever gets pulled out, it doesn't populate with all the emotions, with all the anger or the identity. And there's more into this. I'll go into more of that. There's another video about that, recoding memories. But then also, when somebody's yelling at you or talking trash to you immediately, here's what I do. I start drawing pyramids in my brain, or triangles, whatever you want to call them, 4-dimensional or 3-dimensional. So it's like you got the top edges, and then you have the base. So I draw a square, and then 4 lines that come up to a pinnacle. And then I just keep drawing that while they're talking to me. Guess what? By doing that, I have full control over my imagination and everything going on in my mind. Because words can go into our mind and gain control of our data access, of our creativity, of our emotions, and so many different things, and just jack us up internally. And it can trigger and mess with our energy, not necessarily trigger our energy. So to the person that asked me that, draw triangles in your mind or pyramids when they're yelling at you. Immediately when you're done, when you got a little bit of time to breathe, start replaying what happened and then write it out. And then just go ahead and reformat that memory. The cool thing is the brain starts copying those pathways. Like, oh, when this happens, this is how the brain reacts internally. So you literally have to just take control of your system manually and not just let it do what it wants, but become aware. P.S. Cut out fluoride. Fluoride-free toothpaste and fluoride-free water. And fluoride is not good for the human condition. Roadhouse, spiritual hard. I'm going to click the stop button now.